I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. with a flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I thought it was.
Did it say it was? I stopped to see if you wanted to run. I didn't hear anything.
I didn't get home until like 5:10.
Okay. I apologize. I'm gonna work off my
Trying to get
two screens right now. So let's start with an approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any modifications they'd like to make? I have one. I'd like to add under, let me just get there, my apologies. 5D. Could we please add the March 17th executive session for approval by the board?
What day of the week?
What was that?
Never mind. It's already-
March 2nd?
March 17th. Any other adjustments or amendments? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and approve that and move into our consent agenda. This has our board minute meetings. That's a correction, and then our board meeting from the 13th. And new hire and surplus. Does anybody want to pull anything from the consent agenda?
I have another nitpicky thing. So it's the same thing that happened that we discussed before.
That
So-
whose name?
Yeah, so
Or the guy's name?
the
Are you-
December one was corrected appropriately, but the discussion from the January discussion has the two names reversed.
Okay.
Is that for
It's pretty minor.
Cliff or?
The 1210 notes.
She had Blumenauer and Gomber.
Oh,
I said
yeah.
I talked to Gomber, not Blumenauer, and she fixed it on the original one, but on the discussion, it says he discussed with Blumenauer, not Gomber.
Okay, is that on the 1210 one?
The 12-10 one is the one that we corrected, and it is correct.
Okay.
It's the 113 one where they're reversed. You need to switch the two.
Right.
But I'm happy to approve it.
As
With-
amended.
Approve as amended.
Yep, and then we don't have to put it back on.
Yeah.
All right. So is there a motion to consider?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the revision per Soren on the 1/13/2025 minutes.
Perfect. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Laura, can you take a roll call vote?
Russ,
Yes.
Deb, Jamie,
Yes.
Soren,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Any patron comments this evening? Laura, do we have anything for anybody online?
We do not.
Okay. Well, we'll move directly into reports. We have a student highlight this, or student spotlight this evening with Miss Addie Levitt.
So Addie, when you come up, will you press the button so it looks like this so we can hear you talking? Or Laura will help you too.
Okay.
It just,
Yeah.
There you go.
Hold it down till it turns green.
we didn't have to give her instructions. She had it. She's watched
See
enough
that,
board
Dawn?
meetings.
See that, Don?
5 months plus a
So-
year.
So I wanted to present to you, so Addie's grandpa Brian came to me about a month ago, and Addie, and I put this in the board packet, had actually been recognized in some regional and national newsletters for her interest in minerals and rocks. And so I thought this would be a really cool time for her to come and talk to the board about what she has, what awards she won, and just kind of give you guys an overview of her hobby. I think it's great to be able to recognize our students in with other different hobbies like rocks. I think it's amazing. And so I'm excited to see what Addie can show us.
Thank you guys for inviting me today. And my name is Addie. My teacher is Miss Mason and I'm in fifth grade. I want to be a geologist because I really like rocks and I think rocks are cool. And I go on field trips with my rock club. Like we went to the Rice Museum this last weekend, and we've gone to the Living Rock Museum and other places like that. And then we went this weekend with my family to the Lock Beach and found some pretty cool fossils there. And these two rocks right here are thunder eggs through the Oregon State rock, and this is Owl and this is Fred. Because yeah, they're found at the Polka Dot Agate Mine and over by Redmond, and his name is Alfred because I found a dog there named Alfred, and I thought the dog was pretty cool, so I named the rock Alfred. And the club that I'm in is called WAMS. It stands for Willamette Agate and Mineral Society. It's in Salem at Center 50 by 7-Eleven. And there's a rock show in April, and there's parts back there if you want to come. That so
Hmm.
and
Got 3 minutes to break. I really appreciate you.
I'm done.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, those are awesome.
Yeah.
Abby, what is it made up of? That's a pretty big, Alfred is pretty big. Like, what is the mineral in it?
Technically, it would be geode impossible on it, but it's mostly not very.
The egg that you carved out.
What?
Talk about fighting.
Oh, yeah. So, we're at the Polka Dot Agate Mine, and, I saw a big rock thing, like this part of it, can't really see what that. But, anyway, I saw that, and I'm like, that looks like a hungry. So I went over there, and it took me an hour to get him out of the ground.
Wow.
It was 20 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
Big stuff.
Yes.
So is that one that you broke into?
Well,
You cut into?
When they're that big, you cut them.
That
Yeah,
is.
So Addie, I really like rocks, and I'm sure I'm glad you brought that in person for me to see, because the pictures are not good enough. And actually, other than in the museum, that's the biggest letterate I've ever seen.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is quite a great find.
Now, Addie, did you win some award you want to tell us about?
yes, I won. Junior rock contest.
Wow.
Correct.
Letter. And, yeah, senior letter, and I did an article. I submitted one about Alfred, and I got that.
Who has the saw that you use? Is that your club, or does Grandpa have one?
No, we went to a rock shop called Al's Rock Shop. By the Y, I think.
Mhm.
On 34.
Yeah, on 34.
Yeah.
I've been-
Grandma's rock saw wasn't
Yeah,
big
I've been
enough.
there.
Yeah.
It's only a 14 inch.
Yeah, I have a 12-inch. It wouldn't cut that either.
And,
What do you do with Alfred when you know you're not showing him off?
I put him in the window.
Sleep on it. Put it on the mattress.
Yes, he is fluorescent.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Around this area where the sort of white it'll fluoresce there and tiny dots right there fluoresce.
So do you put a special light on them?
Yes, we put a UV light.
Cool.
How excited was your club when you found that?
But do you have plans of going back there anytime soon, see if you can find more?
I want to.
Gotta
Well,
get parents paid.
take Clove with you. We'll make a joint trip.
He said if you could get it out, you could keep it.
Without breaking it.
Without breaking.
How much is that worth, you think?
Well, to buy it, yeah, so it was supposed to be $3 a pound to get it out. They gave us a deal because
We're so big.
of her. And, so they
'Cause she
gave us
did all the work.
$3 a pound, so it costs like $60, but each to buy it would probably be about $400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
But
Yeah, that's
And
big.
He said it was the biggest rock we've ever had in that car.
okay.
Well, congratulations.
Yes, good job.
Addie, thank you so much for coming tonight. I know it can be nerve-wracking to speak to a bunch of adults, but sharing your passion is awesome. And so thank you for making the time for us tonight.
Good job. You can take Alfred home with you.
Yeah. I don't think we should trust, you can trust Soren with them, but maybe not the rest of us.
Thank you, Addie.
I saw them actually. I wondered who they were. I didn't
How long
stop
are
to
they there
see
for
who
the
they
month?
were.
Probably pretty good.
Okay.
I'll have to check that out.
Be a public library now, see.
See, it's not all about basketball.
Thank you, Addie. That is awesome. I appreciate you bringing it.
Great work.
Thank you.
Right?
I know, that's heavy.
It's a good workout.
Bye, Addie. Thank you.
Carrying around your
Right.
daughter.
Next up is our superintendent report for February.
So I just wanted to update everybody. We have done all our bus maintenance.
Thank
We use Croson Transportation out of Monroe. Thank you, Addie. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. They will be doing our annual inspections as well, so I'm hoping, I think this is a great way for us to have that relationship with that. Currently, we're working with First Student to contract a bus driver for one of our home to school routes until further notice. This is, and I just want the board to be aware, so when we talk about our 10% reimbursements, we get 90% reimbursement, I'm sorry. You know, it doesn't seem like 10% seems like, you know, not a lot to pay. And if you think about a bus driver, we pay about $350 per day per bus driver, right down about $350. So really per day, we're paying $35 for a bus driver. With this contract, for us to be able to run our full 3 routes, we're paying $600 a day. Plus we're paying for a hotel room because this bus driver lives outside the area. Plus we're paying for mileage for this bus driver to drive from the hotel to the school and back. So we're thinking we're probably paying close to $800 a day for this bus driver. So, you know, there's been a lot of conversation about how do we pick which route to go. The unfortunate part is, as a charter school, we don't have the luxury to say, we just worry about our district. We go from everywhere. And so it is super important for us to have, if we want to stay a charter school, we have to be able to say we're bringing from everywhere we can. But this is not a sustainable piece for us to do for transportation. There's been thoughts for us to ask current staff to do home to school routes. We have problems right now with the law with type 20 buses. But I also do worry about safety issues with fatigue because we're asking staff to do their own job during the day and then get here at 5 a.m. to be able to drive routes 5 or 6 and then not get home till 6 or 7 at night. And so, you know, one of the pieces is for us is that we need drivers. And this problem will not go away until we have a regular set of drivers. If we want to continue to grow our enrollment because we choose to be a charter district, we have to have drivers. There's no other way around it. So that's my 2 cents. I wanted the board to be aware. We're going from paying our 10%, which is $35 a day, to probably close to $70 to $75 a day after reimbursement. Again, that's not a sustainable pace for us. We're working with WLA, Don, Roxy, Keena, and I, just to really make sure we have procedures that are consistent, that the fleet is in working order, and that surpluses are needed. We got our audit findings back for WLA today. I'm thinking we're getting ours back soon. There are some things that we do need to fix, very minor pieces, but a lot of it is just really systems put into place. I wanted to talk about Caruth. I did put this update in there. So Caruth was our third party. Don, please tell me if I'm saying this right. It's our Caruth Compliance Consulting, which is our third party administrator for TSA accounts, so retirement accounts. They had a huge cyber breach January. And I'm going to tell you right now, in the state of Oregon, about 97% of the districts use Caruth, because there's so many laws that you have to follow that if we asked Don to do it, he would never be able to do it. So 97% of the districts are in our boat, along with a lot of municipalities. And so we've been working with Pace, who's our insurance provider, and Pace has put us in touch with a legal firm, and this is not going to cost us any. It's through our insurance, to ensure that we're in legal compliance with notification requirements, and not only with just notification requirements, but also state notification requirements, not federal but state. Because Dawn and I were in a meeting on Friday, and by state, legal requirements for security breaches, cybersecurity breaches actually changes. We didn't realize that, and so we've been working with one of their attorneys to make sure that our notification is completely where it needs to be. Dawn and I also took a meeting with another third party for TSA to help ensure that we're in compliance. We are going to go with them. They are going to take over our TSA at this point and help us ensure that we are still in compliance to the IRS and federal government pieces. We're getting close to getting the final quotes to repair our field. And one of the things that I think the Benton County, I've talked with Benton County sheriffs, they still don't really have an update. They're continuing to work to find and arrest the culprit. One of the things though that we are looking at as well, now that we are going to have to really take the field down, is we're actually looking at installing irrigation boxes around the field. And that will be done with Mr. Albers through him. And one of the reasons why is we started 2 years ago in the summer, and last summer and the summer before, we actually took down time of how long it takes our staff to irrigate our fields, so move the pipes and everything. And one of our staff members who worked 40 hours a week was spending 20 hours moving irrigation at the field and up here. And then Mr. Albers was spending about 10 hours a week fixing all the pipes that broke. So by putting in these boxes, we think that it will help in the long run decrease the amount of time we're actually watering our field and spending that personnel time, so that we're able to spend other times doing other things. Mrs. Smallwood and I are doing some food service. We want to make sure we're using our monies and our everything, our food supplies effectively and efficiently. I attended the ACAC. How do you say it? ACAC?
He referred to it as ACAC.
ACAC, sorry.
You can just say the ACAC. That's
I
fine.
like the ACAC better.
I don't think it makes any sense.
Just went there to just really talk about the kitchen cafeteria. Everything. And now, the last one I do want to talk about, and this has been in the news quite a bit, is really the federal funding. There was some concern 2 weeks ago about there would be a federal funding dollar freeze of all of federal grants. And so Dawn had gone in and we were told by ODE and the state to go in and pull the money before a certain time, because we were told that at a certain time, all federal funding would be frozen. So that means that's our title money, that's our IDEA money, and that's our child nutrition program money. So Dawn went in and got as much as he can to put in our accounts. There was no freeze because the judge, there was an injunction. the judge then came out the next day and said because that money had already been budgeted, that they could not freeze that money for us. However, we have been told, who knows, because in some aspects, in some industries, they're still frozen. They can't get the money. Head Start was one of them. I think they just unfroze Head Start 2 days ago. We were assured that there will be no immediate changings right now because of the fiscal year. However, we're not sure how our RUS grant will go. Because it's through the Department of Justice, we're not sure if that money will be released to us this spring in any way, shape, or form, or even if we'll get the money. The other grant that I'm a little concerned about is the COPS grants through the Department of Justice. I was gonna redo the grant this summer or this spring to do a PA system. We're not sure where that stands as well. The one thing I do wanna say to the board, and I have this in the last paragraph, is that there is a high likelihood that federal dollars for all of the federal funding will be decreased by up to 25%. So that means the budgets and titles and IDEA would decrease. I heard today that they said the nutrition programming more than likely would not be touched. So for title right now, we do budget for FTE. And then we have curriculum, professional development, supplies, and family engagement activities. And our IDEA money, which is our special education money, goes solely towards FTE. We're not sure when we're gonna get the figures, but more than likely there will be somewhat of a decrease, which means that, as you can see, it's FTE and we're gonna have to take it out of our general fund reserve. Dawn and I were talking about today when we present the budget to the board, more than likely we'll keep that FTE in there, which means there'll be less money for professional development, supplies, and curriculum if we need to buy. So I just wanted the board to be prepared for that. The state has said they do not have enough money to cover what the federal government will not give us. So, like I said, we've been told up to 25% would be where we're looking at for next year. If the federal government dissolves the Department of Education, I don't know how much we would decrease, or even if we get money for IDEA or title. We're not sure. Now for us, title is about 59 to 62,000. IDEA over 2 years is what, 100,000?
What is title?
Title is for low income.
Well, what is title? Is it title? I don't know what title is.
So Title I, Title II. So Title
All the
I
way
would
down
be
to
for
Title
low socioeconomic, so poverty. Title III is for ELL students. Title IV is actually for rural schools.
Okay.
The other thing that go ahead. Yes, which is we got extra, so we got 45,000 this year for that. 54. So we may not get that at all. The other thing I just heard, and I'm going to Salem tomorrow. And I'm gonna speak with our senators and representatives after my meeting. But another thing that I heard, and I'm gonna talk to COSA, is that the Secure Rural Schools Act. So if you all don't know what the Secure Rural Schools Act, in the 70s, when the federal government came in and took over a lot of the forest land, they don't pay taxes on the forest land. And so in order, and schools in Oregon and a lot of places go off property taxes. So the federal government said, if we have this land, we'll give you this money to make up for the taxes. So it was supposed to be up, I believe in the early 2000s, but the government kept renewing it. I have actually heard that is a possibility that it actually will not be renewed next year, which means it's not only for schools, but it's for cities and governments and counties and things like that. So I don't know what that would do to us if I don't know how much money RS.
You don't get that much for federal forest fees, but I was thinking about Vernonia and Fox tonight, that most of their funding is the federal forest.
So there's a lot of schools who would be hurting. I know our Benton County gets some. The county I came from before, Curry County, 92% of Curry County was actually federally owned. I think we get maybe 25,000 thousand.
Yeah,
But if we don't get that, that's 25,000
as
less.
part of the formula.
Yes,
So we're talking about $300,000 or less.
possibly,
Okay.
possibly.
Well, if the state can't make up for that, then
Yeah, they'll spread it out.
we're
through the
putting our
formula.
tax money at too many bad places.
Well, I don't
That's not a lot of
necessarily
money.
disagree, but remember, it's not just for
Oh,
us,
no,
it's
no,
for
I know.
others.
I get it. I
Yeah.
get it.
So I just wanted to put you.
I think the
that
way
on
the state of
radar.
Oregon's going, we better not depend on the federal government to help us out.
Yeah.
So
So
I bet
I
we'll
just,
lose it all.
I just wanted to put that on your
That's
radar
my
as we
bet.
move forward, as we move into the budgeting season. Because as Dawn and I are getting that information, we're looking at our budget. We're budgeting at 11.4. We've heard the governor probably is going for 11.6, and that might be where they'll actually end up, but I want to be a little bit conservative for us.
Mhm. Yeah, I would bet we don't get any. That's what I would bet.
Would it be for the board, I guess, my question, sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
So what's helpful for the board in this conversation around impacted dollars? Maybe like an update with a financial report on how things are going with the federal government, or what do you guys want to hear?
No, I think we just need to keep a tally of what dollars are at risk. So we know when we're budgeting and what we're looking at down the road, what, like she said, it's like, sounds to me like it's less than 300,000 total. I think that's a good start. And then,
Well, and I think for us, I mean.
for me, from my standpoint.
But if you think about 300,000, that's 10% of that budget, because we're about 3.2 million, well, about 4.
But we're at 5.
Well, but we're decreasing.
Yeah, no, I
But
get
that's-
that. I just mean though, I think as a board,
Yeah.
we just need to have the lens of what is that dollar amount, first of all. So we're not like scare tactics, like we're gonna lose all of our funding to have a school.
Mhm.
And then how do we mitigate that loss with finding other funds or begging the state or other options?
In my financial statements, I kind of mentioned it, but the state will be coming out with the on March 1st, around first week of March, the projection for 25, 26, the allocation. So that will be the big picture right there.
I can tell you this, because I'm very plugged in. A lot of the fear tactics going on aren't real. So I think we need to just take a pause and wait for the actual like shift of information from the federal government. I don't believe it's as bad as people think it would be, but I also think the state of Oregon has cut schools by how much this year? I mean, like all the schools are losing money, right? Out of our state funds.
No, actually, we're not. We're not
It's
losing.
increasing.
It's what?
Isn't it increasing next year?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why are all these schools out of money?
Because
That's the purse.
Oh,
It's
well,
purse.
yeah, gambling. Okay, so anyway, what I would say is I think it's a little too early to know the impact. As a board, we can't really do anything until we actually know the impact.
I don't. and I don't
However, we need to be
disagree.
Can I-
prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would like to
So we
say
need to
going
look
into a budget cycle, I'd like to see those dollars, like Christine said, I'd like to really see those kind of highlighted
Mhm.
where we can be impacted and just keep the conversation open
Right.
and transparent
Yeah.
and, ear to the ground and just continue to have conversation with our budget committee as we go through it and just work together as a team, try not to fall into the fear tactics that are happening and just keep open, honest, transparent conversation and awareness.
I think I would add a little bit to that, and I would just say, in the spirit, take this for what you want to do with it. Dollars are dollars, but where does that impact, and can we start having those conversations on when we lose $50,000? What do we need to impact in the school to be operational? What
Mhm.
program gets cut? What curriculum doesn't get renewed? How does it impact the students? So can we drive those conversations less at the dollar data conversation and more to the,
Yeah.
I mean, I know
Impact.
forecasting is forecasting, right? We're doing that every single year. We're hoping that we kind of balance that budget, but I would love to hear when we
The
start looking
impact.
at a decreased budget, how are we impacting the students?
Well, and one of the things I do want to tell you is we are on a hiring freeze at
Mhm.
this point. Unless it's a necessity to hire a bus driver, we will not be hiring. If we have a teacher leave, we're gonna have to figure out how to do it within. If we have an aide leave, we will not be hiring. We will have to figure it out. And that's hard to do, but we have to live within our budget. And we know this year that we're using between 700 and about 900,000
Of
outside
reserves.
of our budget.
Mhm.
And with the decreasing enrollment, which we knew was gonna happen, we know that our SIA money will go down, we know that our HSS money will go down. So the thing is we have to remember, this is not like, well, this is how it always used to be. We have to live within our, and we are lucky because we have this savings account that a lot of
Mhm.
people do not have. I just read Beaverton has to cut 20 million next year.
Yeah.
So we
That's
are
a lot of
lucky with,
people.
we are lucky with this. So I just want to make sure, I wanted to put this on your guys' radar.
Sorry.
Yes.
My take is really like, I like having information in advance and the forecasting is great, but we don't really know until we know for sure. Like it's nice to like say, okay, we expect this decrease, but we don't really know yet. But yeah, we should plan ahead and say,
Yes.
okay, where could this potentially come from if and when it happens? But
Well-
we don't really know exactly until it happens.
And here's what I'm also gonna tell you. In the times I've worked with the government and ODE and the federal government and state, sometimes you plan for the best and about 3 days before you get it in, they're like, hi, you have to cut another whatever. In 2008, in January, all school districts were told, you're not getting your payment. You better figure out how to make it through the end of the year.
Whew.
Yes.
So if you guys have lessons learned for that sort of thing.
But boy,
Yeah, we're getting our information on March first. That'll be the
Mhm.
best information we have at that time. And I can bring a projection how, with our current staffing, what that'll impact.
Mhm.
That's the help development. You
Yep.
drive where you want to go. Like Chris has said, we cut staff in the middle of the year in 2008 because all of a sudden we have no money coming in. So you make decisions. It's a budget, and then you have to adjust as you go along and work with the board on what your priorities are. Where that's at.
Well, knowing the areas that can impact the students, if these dollars come, will kind of help us also focus our strategic plan.
Yes.
So
I agree with you on that.
we should be aware of those impacts.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to start putting that on because I know there's things, and I don't disagree with you, Ross. I think there is some scary.
well, I
tactics.
think the problem is let's just say they did dissolve the Federal Department of Education. There's a lot of money in that organization that's gonna go somewhere. I would like to believe the federal government would still push that to the schools because they're gonna save millions on not paying all the bureaucracy in that organization, right? But we don't know. But I think the fear tactics are this like, oh my gosh, nobody understands that there's 14,000 employees doing nothing but staying at home all day. If you had 6% or 10 or 12% of your teachers showing up actually in the classroom, we'd be losing money too, right? So I think the fear tactics are, you got to look at both sides of the coin. We could lose everything, right? The government could lose everything. We wouldn't have schools, right? The waste of money is extreme. It's always been, right? So what I'm saying is, as a school, when I went to OSBA, I was disappointed. That organization sucks so much money out of education that doesn't go to educating kids, right? It just goes to an organization. Why they have the divide they did last year and all the problems, I don't know. But I can imagine it's because people are different in their viewpoints. I think we need to focus as a board of getting our dollars to educating our kids and not the fluff and not the crap and not the stuff that we can do without. I mean, if we can't have every activity or if we can't pay a bus driver to drive our kids to Monroe, then parents can take their kids because that's what we used to do. If we have to have that bus driver take our kids home from school, right? I mean, at the end of the day, as a board, we have to make decisions to educate our kids, not to get our kids to play a baseball game, to educate our kids. That's all great. But as a parent, I'll drive my kid if I want him to play, right? So I just think as a board, we just need to know if it's 300,000, that's not actually that big of an amount because most of our money comes from the state. The problem is the state's going to lose a lot more money than that. So when they pull money from us, that could be much worse than what the federal's pulling out. And so, yeah, I think we just have to be aware. I don't buy into fear tactics very well because I've been in all sorts. I've worked in the military. That's probably the worst government position to ever have in your life. Not because of the patriotism, because of the pay and the garbage. But I just think this is new. And demonstrably, people want everyone to be afraid. I wouldn't be afraid. We have money in the bank. We have enough to cover this year. I think let's just be
Aware.
proactive in looking at ways we can refine what we spend on the daily, just like Elon Musk is doing to the government.
So do you feel comfortable with the
Yeah, I
that
think what
moving
you
forward
said
then?
is good.
Okay,
And I think
so
what
then
she said
we
is good.
can,
I think we need to know a dollar amount that's at risk. And then how do we
How it affects
absorb
the
that.
students.
Worst case scenario, we lose 100% of that. How do we absorb that without affecting the education needs of our kids?
Well, and I think that's a conversation because I'll tell you how you do that. We have layoffs.
Yeah,
Well,
and
and
And that's the
I'm
thought
sorry,
process that you have to
what
do.
about fees to play?
what about what?
Fees to play. We're one of the only districts that doesn't charge
And
a fee.
and the thing is you can't do that, but then all of a sudden what happens if you have a kid who can't do it? Then you're gonna have them do it for free anyways.
Or a booster club
Well,
or
the other
community
thing is,
funds.
like, I can tell you just having another organization in town that I'm a part of, sometimes when you ask the community for money, you get the money. But
Yeah.
if you don't ask, you don't get it. So I just think as a
agree.
board, our responsibility is to see the challenges and find the solutions. But until we know the exact
Yeah.
challenge, we just have to be proactive in looking at open-ended ideas for solutions and hoping it's not as bad as.
Well, and like I said, I just wanted to put it on your radar. I don't want fear tactics. But the other pieces is we may not get 6 months to figure it out. It might be you're not getting your check in March. Figure it out. And it's like I said, we're lucky that we have this savings
Mhm.
account. Dawn remembers, I remember my district, we cut 12 days like that, which meant that I lost out of my paycheck as a second year or a third year teacher, I lost $4,000 in 6 months because we didn't. Like
Just
that.
remember the biggest impact on this district. David's found from
Interest.
finding enrollment.
Yeah.
The bottom. And so we're still based on last year.
Right.
So now we're gonna lose that again. And so if your learning at home doesn't increase its numbers, or if your number, we're still gonna go down. And so that's where the biggest impact of this district. Fees to play, that's minute. Really, that is immaterial compared to the cost of staff member or something like that.
Well, it's all
So I'm
about
gonna bring us
increasing.
back to kind of the
Sure.
agenda as a whole, 'cause I think this was a great discussion. I think, do you feel like you have some guidance on what the board?
I
wants
do.
to
Dawn and
see
I will start
here?
looking at that. Yeah.
Okay, and then I would also just say to the board, if you have questions, please direct them to Krista, she can answer them.
And Dawn as well. If
Yeah.
you have financial
Okay.
questions, do that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so up next is our K-12 principal building report.
Okay, just did some student of the month stuff. One of the cool things that we started was smart reading. So our high school leadership class is going into their K1 class every week and reading with them for an entire period. It's great. It's actually a statewide program. The kids will be getting books once a month to take home for their own library. It was awesome actually to see everybody in there. We did put out on Facebook that if there's any community members that would like to join, to please contact Sarah Littlefield. She's doing that particular program in our school. We're just finishing up our goals. We had a couple field trips, and I'm very proud to present the honor roll for the 7th through 12th graders. They worked very, very hard and very proud, or 6th through 12th graders. I'm very proud of the kids who really buckled down and worked hard. So
It was a lot of them. It was impressive.
I thought so too. Good
It was
job.
impressive.
Amazing work. So next we just have, we have our cumulative regular attenders and our monthly enrollment. Any highlights you want to hit on that?
the sickness is still going through.
Mhm.
We've been told there's a lot of influenza in our county. So that's where we're seeing that at, it's just, we had kids who would come to school and then the next day I was like, yeah, don't send them, please. We even had staff. We had a couple of days where there was some staff where I was like, I don't know how we're gonna do this. So, and then our monthly enrollment, you can kind of see,
A little bit of a jump.
that's quite a bit of a jump.
Yeah.
Laura. I don't know if that jump is,
Let me double check it.
yeah, it might be more of 235. That seems way too much of a jump.
Are you talking about the regular attenders?
No, the enrollment.
Oh,
I know that we got some more kids that learn at home.
and you've got. What? Well, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, it is.
4.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Four
it's a good
building
jump.
kids.
Yeah, so, yeah, and
So we
the
have-
great thing is our seniors are staying the same number.
Yeah.
Right now, they're all pretty much on track to graduate.
Good job.
They better be.
Yay.
Outstanding.
Yeah, I
If not
always
in
hate it
April.
when they lose a senior that close to like being done.
Well, and a lot of times I think this goes back to really having those systems set up in place when they're early in high school to make sure that by the time they're seniors, they're not struggling with credits. And so again, kudos to Kayla Wilson, who literally is working her tail off, going to teachers, going to kids, pulling kids in if they're failing, asking teachers what they can do. So she is really working to ensure that, or even our junior high kids are not just, that really even our junior high kids are really working hard and understanding that what you do in junior high really does affect what you do in high school. And so kudos to her. Every day I see her in the hallway with kids.
I have
Parents are
positive
happy when their-
interactions.
I was gonna say parents are happy when their kids are doing well too.
Yeah.
And so that's really, it's great to see. Good job to everybody on that.
Yeah, my kid doesn't say much and he's got high praise for the help that she's provided.
Yeah.
I have a question about the regular attenders. So the second and third page, is that a historical comparison from last year?
I believe so.
Same question too, because I looked at that twice.
Laura,
There's different numbers,
I
but it
believe
goes
they
all the
are
way
from
through
last
June
year.
on
Yep.
the second.
they are from last
Okay.
year.
Because I think at one point I always ask for like comparison things on everything.
Just to
So-
kind of show you where we were compared to.
Close
So
to,
it's the bottom one.
How do we
this
gain
year,
19 kids?
Top one is this year.
the
Bottom
Top one is this year.
and the bottom one. So Laura just didn't turn the bottom one. It should just be 2 pages. So the top one is this year, so 239. The bottom one is last year.
How do we grow by 19 students in a month?
We had actually a lot of kids go into.
Was that
Leno.
online mostly, or is that, yeah?
A lot of it was online. We got some more. I'm gonna tell you that number's gonna go down. We have some kids who are leaving us, mostly because of housing.
Fourth and fifth grade, that's
I hate
pretty
that.
big jumps.
all right.
Hmm.
All right, spot. Yeah, okay. Any other questions on that? All right, Miss Shunk, Learn at Home, Oregon.
Hi, everyone. Okay, yes, we're really excited about the students coming in and trying to make that a very seamless entry into our school. So it's been wonderful to be able to welcome in new students. Okay, so my report, we had our January Student of the Month assembly, and that was really wonderful. We focused on the character trait of nice, and our next one is daring. Our assembly this month, we're preparing for students to invite in a family member to attend with them right next to them. And typically, many of the students already have their family members attending our assemblies, which is really nice, but we're going to emphasize that. And that just, brings our community closer together and, ensures that our parents feel very much upfront and a part of what we do and appreciated. So we're really looking forward to that. Our iReady Diagnostic 2 results have showing that we have work to do in specific areas, but we have also had some growth, and so we're celebrating the wins and then targeting exactly what we need to do moving forward. And each of our teachers I'm able to meet with once weekly to look at the data and go diving into that. So we have 30-minute meetings that we're really targeting and focused instead of just kind of going blindly. We're really focused on making sure that we are growing. Today we had a wonderful. I didn't put this in there, so I don't know if I can talk about it, but I just want to say the professional development that was coordinated by Krista for our curriculum was absolutely wonderful. It was extensive, it was comprehensive, and that just happened today. And then we'll continue tomorrow. So I want to make sure everybody knows how impactful that was and very positive. We're going to go into this a little bit more next month with one of our teachers. I think is going to submit a proposal to present, but we have Class Dojo, and I mentioned it during our strategic meeting, but I want to make sure everybody understands it's a comprehensive, incredible tool that we are using for communication and for our engagement, and then we can create portfolios. And I'm really looking forward to Mr. Cedarland coming in and giving a more extensive picture of how he utilizes this and how it's just been an incredible improvement in terms of communication and excitement for his class. So that's about it. Oh, and I put in here, messages to family. So I did a school insights just for last week. And we had 67 messages total, like from our teachers to parents and back and forth, 67 messages. And that was by Wednesday. And then 70 photos. So this is a very active platform that we're using. And I'm excited for all of you to hear more about it next month. Do you have any questions? Okay.
I don't hear any. Thank you so much, Ms.
Yeah.
Shunk.
Absolutely. Oh, and I just want to say a shout out to Addie. That was really wonderful to hear her talk about her rocks, and I just love that. So I don't know if she's still there, but that was really great. Great job.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Harris.
Good evening. Nice to see everybody.
Good to see you
Good to
too.
see you.
It's so small.
I just wanted to, first off, I know, I just want to give a shout out to the middle school boys. Their tournament was this weekend and they finished first in the tournament. So kudos to those guys. I know that the last game was a little tumultuous from the stands, but they persevered and took that tournament, beat the number 1 and 2 teams. So congratulations to those guys for all their hard work this year. They still got a couple more games coming up. We had a couple more reschedules, but I just wanted to give them a shout out. Also, the middle school girls, they'll be playing this Saturday. Those games will start at 8, just like they did for the boys. I'm still waiting on the finalization of the bracket. So as soon as we get that, probably tomorrow or Thursday, then that will be sent out as well, but that'll be available. So look for that. ALSI project, our next meeting, we're planning on doing February 27th. And I know some of you have expressed interest, so please be looking for that email. I will send that out to you this week before the end of the week. And we'll be just kind of working on some of the small groups to develop some of our expectations for our elementary school in the different areas, playgrounds, hallways, bathrooms, sort of those things. And then on the 21st of March, it is a grading day, but the group has sort of shown some interest in getting together on a day where we can kind of sit down and spend a little bit more time instead of just an hour and a half or whatever. So just like right now I'm planning on that, but we'll hopefully that day will work out, but kind of putting some processes and procedures together for our PBIS for next year will be on that day. Our high school girls playing with Monroe currently ranked 14th. They're 14-7. I had to update this a little bit. The boys are currently ranked 59th. They did get they got a win the other night, 1 point win, so 11-11 record for them. Congratulations. And then we want to get the approval for the baseball co-op for Monroe this season. So that was the other thing that I really wanted to approach the board about tonight. So other than that, our sports are going good. Senior night will be this Thursday. So that information will be coming out tomorrow. I think Nicole was able to put together a flyer today to get that out. So senior night will be Thursday at the halftime of the game. So.
Outstanding. Hey, Mr. Harris, really quick, I asked this last year. We had we didn't have anything for softball for the girls for Monroe. Just didn't know if we had interest this year for some of our girls to play softball. And I don't think Monroe had enough girls last year, actually. So I didn't know if that was a consideration in the co-op, if it was just baseball or if we were looking at baseball and softball.
Yeah. So baseball right now, but yeah, they didn't have the numbers last year.
Yeah.
I can check tomorrow, to be honest with you. I could check and see if we have interest for the girls in softball, and I can reach out to Bo in Monroe and check with him and see what their plans are. If not, I could look around this week and see if maybe there's opportunity for some girls to play. Yeah, I'll definitely do. Yep.
Just
100%.
didn't know if that I'd ask that question because it came
No,
up
no.
last year. So I wanted to just make sure. Thank you so
No.
much on that.
100%. Yep.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Harris.
You're welcome.
All right. Business manager report, Mr. Staley.
Hopefully you had a chance to go through the summary. There's really nothing changed from last month. The major ones are in the special revenues, where we got ELL, small amount of money there. I also mentioned in there that we got the special education stipend, which is strictly for salaries, not benefits. So I'll need to come to the board when we get the final figures for a resolution to move appropriations from the general fund over to the special revenue to spend those dollars. I can't put it in the general fund because it's a grant from the state. Food service, gave that to you again, so you know where we're at on that. It hasn't changed, but also we're going to get another 10% increase on our CEP. I was hoping it was going to be more, but it's about $6,800, which is still money. So it'll lower that when we get the final figures on that. Debt service, Sullivan, I showed you that we have 94% collection on our levies and everything. Capital projects, which if you have interest, there's still $57,000 left in the bond that you'll be planning with Krista on how those dollars can be spent. Other than that, the unemployment reserve, we got our next quarter bill, which was not very big, but that's not the months that unemployment happens. So looking to see what's going to happen in the spring and in the summer. Those are the months. So hopefully very little happens those months, so we won't have to budget as many dollars for the next year because we'll have the reserve, which will help the budget out in itself big time. So other than that, made it brief. Hopefully the summary covers everything. And also, we'll be discussing in the audit. You probably, if you read that, there's one thing in there that financial oversight by the board, which I think I give you all the information, but it's regarding the checks and the deposits. So maybe part of your resolution or whatever, when you, or the minutes that you did receive those, did review them. And if there were any questions, you asked me at that time to research or whatever. Oh, okay.
I felt like they were a little more than that, like just saying, are there any questions is not enough. They want us to have like specific questions for you, more than
Okay.
just like taking, because they wanted it in the minutes, obviously.
Well, I think there's more, you know, with the breach, and we'll have Nicole go over that with the breach and the new SASs that come out. There's more oversight because of the fraud, various things. They just want to make sure that you're involved and you're just not rubber stamping. And so I understand, and I think we're very transparent here. A smaller district, you're more transparent. So ask questions and we'll get you the information. And it'd be nice if you ask questions before the meeting so that I could share with everybody at the meeting and over, so other people on the outside could see this, get the same answers.
So I say thank you because I have been always one that has always asked for checks and deposited. And I kind of felt like I was hushed for several months. And I'm sorry to say, but as an elected official, I think it is my duty to see the checks, to see the deposits and see that we're going in the right direction. So I say thank you to whoever put that in there, because I think it's important that not only do we discuss it at our meetings, but I think it needs to be out in the open. I think the two of you have done a really great job at spending the money correctly. But I think in the end, if there's a problem, the buck stops at the board. And therefore, we need to be asking those questions. So I have to say, I'm really glad that paragraph was in there. I read it and I'm sorry, I jumped for joy.
I
because
had
I
some
felt-
confusion. I felt it was that time last year that we received guidance that we
That-
probably shouldn't have that in
Exactly.
our board. So
Exactly.
I was a little confused myself, as well as watching some other boards meetings recently where they discuss checks and deposits. And so I was like, I was a little confused because I thought it was this time last year that we were
Always.
recommended to
We've
not
always
do that anymore.
And then we were told we were not allowed to do it because of a mishap, which I disagreed with, and I've always disagreed with. And I've always felt it is our duty as a board to make sure that they're doing their job, because they're making sure we're driving in our lane.
Yeah.
And so I say thank you,
Mhm.
because I think it's super important that we all check each other.
Mhm.
Because that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
But you have been.
Yeah,
receiving the
we
checks
have
and
been
deposits
receiving
every
Yeah,
year.
every
Yes.
Krista
I mean,
emails us.
Absolutely, that's what.
I just think the way we were receiving them and
I know
handling them are
you getting the
different.
information, so.
Yes,
Yeah,
we are
Krista-
getting the
Krista emails
information.
them.
I
It's
think,
always- is that right at the end of the month? It's always right before the.
It's about, we try to do it
A
at
week
least a
before the
week,
board meeting.
if not longer.
Well,
It's-
here's how we do it.
Okay, how do we do it?
I always reconcile the banks the first or second day after the end. I just do it.
Right,
It's
right.
my nature. I tell Bryn, I'm done reconciling. She sends the deposits and checks to Laura and Krista, and then they come out to the board.
Yeah.
That's how it's done.
It's been pretty seamless.
Well, and that's, I mean, that's how it should be done.
yeah,
And I appreciate that, and I also appreciate the fact that it does need to be discussed at a board.
yes. I think
Because-
the key thing that we took out, and I agree with the adjustment, is that some boards are saying that they approve the bills.
That's how we've always done.
However, that's operational. We get to review and ask questions, but we don't get to approve.
The money's already spent.
Money's already spent. So how are you approving something that's already spent? So reviewing it and having access to it is great. That's where our checks and balances come in and ask the questions and hold people accountable. But I feel that that part was overstepping.
Yeah, well, it's just not necessarily the word choice isn't necessary. Like approve.
Any other
You're right.
questions?
It's hard to approve something that's already done.
Mhm.
I can disagree with it.
I think you could step back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Get out of here.
All right, bond and construction.
So Nancy and Chris have another meeting, so they couldn't make it. The big one is that we have submitted the second application for the seismic grant. It'll be for the high school classroom room. The second big one, and I'm not gonna go over it like line for line, is that we are actually shutting down the locker rooms as of May 12th. And the reason why is that gives us, like I told them, we have to have everything by August 18th. Because we start volleyball. They actually have to do an abatement of the locker room, so the earlier they could get in there. So by letting them in there May 12th, they're pretty sure we'll be able to get it by the 18th. So I've talked to the PE teachers and I've talked to the coaches. We are just gonna use the bathrooms to change. But when I say the locker rooms will be shut down, like they will literally be under abatement for asbestos. So there will be nobody in there. I've been working with staff saying, once we say you need to move your stuff, like it will be moved. So let's start doing it now. So remember, this project will be the gym, the stage, the front part of the locker rooms, and the high school office will be this project. And then we are gonna go into the first two classrooms on either side. So really, actually, our kitchen will be ripped up again. So we will not be able to do summer lunch program because they are taking everything off that wall, the wall that has all of
Stove
the
and everything.
sinks, because they are digging down 4 feet to put in footings.
And this isn't federal dollars.
This is state dollars through Business Oregon. Right, Dawn? Does that sound right? It's Business Oregon. This is stuff that the legislature appropriates.
Okay.
Yes.
So we won't be meeting in here.
We During the summer, probably not, because that stage will actually be under construction.
Right.
So we probably will need to find a place. I'll talk with Chris, but we might need to move our stuff to either a classroom or maybe see at the library. But yeah, this will be all under construction in June and July and August.
For the library is, I mean, it doesn't matter, classroom, library.
Yeah, I'll talk to Chris about it. But they're like, we're looking at, they're gonna do stuff on this wall right here and on the other wall. So there's a lot of things going on.
So does the library have to be all packed up too?
Some of it, like some of these books will have to, yes. And then if we get the high school classroom grant or the second grant, we will do that hallway, the library, and the back part of the locker rooms.
Outstanding.
When does that get
I like
announced?
design number 2, just for my tidbit.
We actually did a couple different other designs.
Sorry, I am not.
We're,
If it's between 1 and 2, I like that.
well, we like two, but we kind of did a hybrid of 1 and 2.
Okay.
So remember, they're gonna put a new wall on the outside of the gym. So that's kind of where we're looking at. And we're gonna paint that whole front side that gray. We want the whole building to match with the CTE building, that gray with the blue.
That'd be nice.
Yes.
Do we know when we expect the award notice for this? next
Hopefully
meeting?
this spring.
Spring,
I don't know for sure. Cause if we do it this spring, then that gives us a year.
May, there we go.
Yep.
Oh, no, that's for that.
Okay.
That is all I have.
All right. So we're into new business and we have our audit first up.
Hi, Mr. Staley, how are you?
Good, I'm gonna introduce, we have 4 sections here, 3 sections here, and Roxy and I will go over the findings, but before that, Nicole Darcy, who's with Polly Rogers, David Bledsoe, and Nicole work at Polly Rogers, and they did our audit. It's been done really since December 31st. It had to be in the ODE, but I told them they could wait till now to present it to the board and get approved. With that said, I think Darcy's online. Is she online?
You're right there.
And she can go over the audit and the management letter, and then Roxy and I will follow up.
All right, Darcy, the floor is yours.
All right. First of all, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. As Donald just said, I'm Nicole Darcy. I was a team lead on this year's audit as well as the previous years. Before we get too deep into it, I just want to give my thanks to Don and all of his help getting this done. As always, he helped me to run this really smoothly. And just to get into it, if I could turn your attention towards the board letter, if you have that in front of you. And we can just quickly run through the highlights there.
Is that, Nicole, is that in the actual audit or is there another one?
I think it's titled
actually
board
titled.
letter.
Yes, it should be.
Yep, we got it.
Should look like this if you don't have it in front of you.
Yep.
Cool. All right, just to give some perspective, the purpose of our audit was to opine on the fair presentation of the basic financial statements in compliance with both generally accepted accounting principles and auditing standards, essentially meaning did the numbers and the presentation look okay, and in compliance with Oregon minimum audit law, because the district is a municipal entity. Sorry, gotta slow down here a little bit.
It's
Because
late in
it-
the evening. We get you.
Yep. Because the district is a municipal entity, we examined compliance with Oregon law. This is largely referring to compliance with budget law and purchasing laws. And if you turn to page 2 of that board letter, you can see the results of the audit. The district received an unmodified opinion on the basic financial statements this year, meaning we gave a clean opinion with no reservations. In prior years, the district opted to take a modified opinion on both GASB's 96 and 73. These statements can be time-consuming and costly to implement, but we were able to get them implemented this year for a cleaner audit opinion. Item number 2 on there is state minimum standards. We found no exceptions or issues related to state minimum standards, except for a couple items noted on the OMS letter. These items are referring to a couple budget line items and an unfortunate instance where a notice for the budget committee meeting did not get posted ahead of the meeting time. This was outside of the district's control. The publisher they used failed to publish the notice as requested. We don't anticipate this being an issue ever again. And the district did receive a management letter this year due to a deficiency that we consider to be a significant deficiency. I'll get into this item further momentarily, but is mostly related to I-9 documentation. If I can turn your attention to pages 5 and 6. On pages 5 and 6, we have a couple upcoming changes to accounting and audit standards listed just for the board to be aware of. We have GASB number 101. The objective of the statement is to better define how liabilities associated with compensated absences are tracked. And GASB 102. The objective of this statement is to provide users with more timely and substantial information that will allow them to anticipate risks to a government's financial condition. And now we can hop over to the management letter. And I'll give an overview of the audit findings for this year. On page number 1 there, again, we did see a significant deficiency this year. During our testing of payroll, we noted instances where federal Form I-9s were incomplete or completed using an expired form. We also noted an instance where we were unable to obtain an I-9 for an employee. We recommend that all employees' federal Form I-9s are filled out completely and be available for inspection in accordance with federal guidelines to avoid penalties for noncompliance. I've already spoken to staff about this, and it sounds like this is being taken care of already. If not, I understand that review of the I-9s is being completed. And then moving on to the best practice items, that governing body monitoring. An integral part of internal controls is the monitoring of financial activities by those charged with governance. This can be accomplished by activities such as asking specifically designed questions to staff, reviewing basic financial statements against pre-established benchmarks, and other such activities, while the board participates in budget adoption processes and receives staff-prepared basic financial statements. These only partially fulfill the monitoring functioning. We recommend the Board of Directors further articulate the monitoring processes and record the minutes when these activities occur. Just to provide some more insight on this finding, because I know there was some discussion about it. This finding kind of serves two purposes. The first is to document. We could see further documentation processes of the board's monitoring of financials, but also as a heads up item for the board. This is why districts pretty much across the board received this finding. I've really never seen anyone clear this finding from their audit report because it is our way of mentioning to the board. It is our way of noting, like, there's always a potential risk for intentional or unintentional misstatement in the financial activities. So it is our way of giving notice to the board that they should be cognizant of this risk when designing and implementing controls, internal control practices. And just the further we can increase those monitoring activities and the more we can document and us as auditors can review that documentation, the stronger the less the exposure risk is, if that makes sense. Moving on to item number 2 on there, fidelity insurance coverage. In reviewing fidelity insurance coverage, we noted that the district often carries cash and investment balances in excess of the insurance coverage amount. We recommend that the board examine this exposure risk and make a determination as to the amount of insurance coverage they feel is prudent in regard to their oversight. This is similar to the governing body monitoring finding in that it's more of a heads up of you to be aware of the exposure risk associated with this item. You can't necessarily insure every dollar that the district carries. Most insurance providers don't provide that level of coverage. But the district can be apprised of the exposure risk of, okay, well, how many of our actual dollars are covered by our insurance and what control procedures can we put in place to mitigate that risk. Item number 3 on there, the 403B compliance requirements. Because the district contracts with a third-party provider to outsource compliance with 403B regulations, and because the third party does not provide an SSA 18 report to the district, it is our recommendation that the district monitor current practices to determine compliance with accountability requirements for Section 403B and consider the sufficiency of the documentation received from the third-party vendor to reduce the district's risk in this area. The district should also consider requesting to be named on the vendor's insurance policy. There was some discussion of this item earlier. This is kind of flagging the risk associated with, say, the Caruth security breach recently. This is the kind of risk this finding is flagging. But I believe that's all I have for you. If you have any questions for me.
I actually have one question. Wasn't sure who to direct it to. The new GASB standards are 101. It seems like, isn't this already an accepted accounting practice to account for earned but unused leave as a liability? I would think that people do that already.
Yeah, so this is already in your financials. It's my understanding of this Gatsby announcement is that it is kind of more strictly tracking the compensated absences rather than flagging that it should be reported in general. It's giving more standards for how it is being reported and how it is being tracked. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess it's more just a detailed of how you're supposed to do it, because I assume that everybody does this already.
Yeah, for the most part.
Exactly how you need to do it. It was kind of the same with GASB 102. Seems like we're aware of our concentrated revenue streams. And we're aware of when people tell us how we have to spend our money. I would be shocked if Krista didn't tell us or Don didn't tell us, by the way, now you need to spend so much money on your maintenance of effort or whatever. It seems like that's things that happen, but now they're just saying this is how you need to do it.
Yeah, so it's more of a matter of becoming more standardized than anything.
Other questions?
Comments relating to some of the
Yeah.
other things, but is now the time to talk about them?
Are we talking about the deficiencies?
Like number 2 about the fidelity insurance, we discussed this.
For those, that's why we're here.
Yeah,
We're each gonna go over our certain
Okay,
area.
right. I will wait.
All right, then let's.
Carry on.
So the significant one, do you want to go over that one first? We have 2 categories there. We have significant, that's the I-9s. And then we have the ones that are minor. 2 of them were from last year, and I will go over those. But on the I-9s, there were some missing and there were outdated forms. Roxy has gone through everything. The problem is, again, it's the transition from the prior administration to now. And I think we've got them all caught up. We're getting those in place. The WLA was the ones we were missing. And I think Krista mentioned it in our meeting earlier that we're cleaning up the procedures between WLA and the district. I wish they were next door. It's a little difficult when they're down the road.
I don't think your mic is on.
That's good.
It's turned off.
Are your batteries dead?
His battery's dead.
I've had problems with this all the time.
Here.
But it's failing for you too.
There you
It's
go.
working.
It's on.
It's working. Just took the magic touch.
I have a question regarding I-9.
Huh?
Do you guys have an automated system or a process in place
Yeah,
to
we have
track
that in place.
recertification?
Roxy and I worked on packets today, what we're going to have in each of the packets to make sure everything flows perfectly. So payroll flows and people are hired properly and have all the I-9s and everything. And we've gone through that to make sure all I-9s are there. And Chris and I are gonna randomly check to make sure that they're there on that. But on the insignificant ones, I wanna go over those too. And we have to have a letter to the Secretary of State because they're because they're significant. So it has to go to the ODE and it has to go to the Secretary of State.
For the I-9.
Yeah, for the audit, it's a requirement.
So
And
is there a checkoff sheet also in the front of those packets that you put together? I
So
know I
we
have my
developed
stuff
a new
on.
hire checklist,
Mhm.
and Dawn and I went over that today. And that pretty much just involves everything that needs to be done in order for someone to, for step one, yeah, in the building.
and we also have a program that really hasn't been used before here is employee access. So we're gonna have all the forms in there so employees can get their information rather than calling and say, could you please send me this? Could you please send me this?
And as Dawn was going to files today, we found more I-9s and separate.
I found more I-9s.
Yeah,
So-
and at some point in time, there was a process where they decided they were going to separate I-9s from personnel files and put them in their own file. So some were in their own file, some were still in a separate file, and then they docked them some more
That's somewhere.
files that had some I-9s in it.
Yeah, so I went through all the old files today and discarded the things that we don't need anymore because they're outdated and trying to clean up, get things organized. So you have them in areas that you say you discard at this time. Archive and get things organized. So you don't have to look. I do all my stuff electronically. I hate paper. So I store it that way. It's easier to find. It's by employee. I can zoom by year and find stuff. So that's just the way I've always done it. But on the ones that Darcy was talking about, not significant, I kind of did a history there. I put the recommendation, the history, and my thoughts or recommendation where we would go on that, but I need board direction on that too. On the one on monitoring, I do give the financial statements to you, and we do send the checks to you, and so it's how to incorporate that, what else you might want. Like Darcy says, I think 99% of the districts have that in their audit. And they're just gonna do that because it's just.
It covers
people-
their
they're
hind
covering-
end
They're covering themselves too for liability
Mhm.
purposes.
I feel like
and our hind end.
I could make myself a task, be like, come up with one legitimate question for Dawn each month.
A good one.
To
It
come,
has to be like a
they can go
hard-
into the minutes and
Yeah, but
say
I
we're
think
doing our
the
job.
issue is that you did review the checks and deposits. And you had any questions, and you did review the financial statements. And if you had any questions before, I would gladly bring the answers to that rather than just saying the same thing
Well,
and
I have
incorporate that.
one other point to what I said earlier. So they never they wrote the checks out, but they never paid the bills until the board approved.
No, they had check numbers and they had
They
requisitions
did,
and
but
all
they
of that.
never paid them. They never sent them out
think-
until after the board approved.
Well, that might be in some, but and we've had this discussion before, but wherever I've been, and that's been for 30 years, we never stop the payments because Bryn runs them weekly.
Right.
She does them every Thursday, so if you're asking her to hold them until the end of the month,
I'm not.
but what I'm saying is we've always processed them that way wherever I've been, through Canby, the ESD, any district. So we've had this discussion before because you want things to flow, and that's why I give you the checks and deposits. So if you have any concerns, then we can address them.
Mhm.
But they have to be approved. Every requisition, every PO is approved by the supervisor, by Krista.
And we have the
and myself.
policy,
Yeah,
the process.
Right.
Yeah.
We're trusting the process is happening and then looking at it
yeah.
1 month
After
later,
the fact.
or a week.
Yeah, and you're the final review of
Mhm.
to make sure we're following those procedures, and the auditors are checking the procedures that we have written to make sure that we have those approvals and all that. The other one, Fidelity, we had Kristen Nelson come last year and give you the schedule. I've invited her to come again in May to give you what those are before we do the final insurance. And that way, you can say, yes, we want to increase it. no, we don't want to spend the money on that, because if you're looking at reductions, you have to look at your internal controls. If you don't have internal controls, you might want to increase it, but you have the oversight. And I just don't look at black and white anyway, so. But anyway, that's going to be your decision when she brings that. And we're gonna, I said something to Krista that we could bring, Kristen would gladly do it remotely.
No,
In
you
May.
should have her come.
Yeah, rather than have her drive home.
No, you should have her try.
Yeah.
They make a lot of money off us.
Yeah, if we have to have that discussion every year, then we should probably have it every
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so bad.
The
Commit
last
consent.
one is the 403B compliance. That is due to the Caruth
Didn't it?
breach, totally.
Chris,
And
for your place.
working with the other districts, PennServe is a third-party administrator, and they do both ERISA plans and non-ERISA. We're non-ERISA, but they have everything audited. And so I talked to David Bledsoe, who's the auditor, the main auditor on that, and he wanted to make sure such and such and such and such was that they provided to meet the GASB and the other requirements, and they do. They provided all the documentation on that. The interesting thing about this company is we don't have to pay a fee. The vendors pay the fee for that. And so it saves us money and we get more insurance that way. So, which is an interesting thing. So none of their companies pay. The vendors pay.
So is that company gonna get really, really busy soon? Are they gonna?
They're very busy. They're back east, so they do everybody.
I just imagine they're gonna get all of Oregon all of a sudden.
Probably. They've already got us, I hope. So I've sent them
Grant.
the information. We haven't signed anything yet. So I'm getting that. But that's the 4 deficiencies in there. The audit's clean. I think I got rid of all the items that were in there last year. And so that's where we're at.
Sounds great. Thank you, Don.
Any questions?
I do.
And
Did
Roxy.
you had made the comment about I-9s being in one place and other employee records being in another. That's by design.
That was not our design.
That was,
It's required.
okay, so I brought up on that. And they actually say you can do both ways with it.
Okay.
So they say you can keep it in the employee file. Or there was a strong time, I think, 2 years ago, when a lot of people were pulling in files and keeping them separate.
Yeah.
On the subject comes up on OSPA quite a bit, the Oregon Total Personnel Association. And it's pretty much 50-50 on whether school districts are keeping them in or pulling them out.
Okay. I think it says according to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, I-9s should not be kept in an employee's regular personnel file.
Yeah.
And should be stored separately to maintain privacy and facilitate inspection by government officials.
Fine, they're.
I think
What
that
I've noticed is they pulled some, and they didn't pull all of them. So in the process of that happening, there were some.
And multiple hands. That happens.
So I think it's just a system that if we're
Yeah.
gonna pull them apart, we know where they're at, we know the system. and then-
Electronically is
Yeah.
great.
So he'll have them all.
Right now, we have them in the employee.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
that's how,
Now I have them all.
right. What I'm saying, the by employee. Yeah. Any questions? That's the audit.
I just wondered about number 2, the one about the Fidelity insurance. Like we discussed that this at Link last year. Is this really something we have to discuss every year? Like have the insurance come in and give us an estimate and we say, well, we really want to just spend our money on
I
things we
think-
can't control.
I think I'm gonna recommend yes,
Okay.
because it's in the audit. And they want the board to review it rather than just say reviewed it last year, maybe a different board. I think it's just a good practice and Kristen will do her due diligence, get us the rates and you.
I meet with my State Farm agent every year.
So I just
mean,
think it's a way
yeah.
to
I
ensure.
think it's important when you're protecting your liabilities and assets to. There's a lot of changes in the insurance world. Look at Port California.
And you might have other questions on our liability and coverage and various
Right.
things.
Yeah, I think it's important.
Okay, thank you.
So that takes us into,
Do we need a motion here?
no, well, yes, but it takes us into 5A1, which is the resolution. So is there a motion?
I
for the
will make
resolution?
a motion to accept resolution 2505, resolution accepting and filing the external auditor's report on the audit of the district's financial statements for the year ending June 30th, 2024.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion?
I just want to point out that I was looking at this and it said there was an attached plan and I couldn't find it. I actually emailed Laura and Chris and they're like, oh, it was actually in the letter to the Secretary of State.
Yeah.
So
The problem's on your end, Soren. It's there. Just look. That's not how she said it, but
That's not how it says it.
that's what I was thinking. I was like, I probably could have.
Just so for the record, I did not say it that way.
No, that's what I was thinking in my mind. I was like, should have looked harder.
So did someone second the motion?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
so Laura, can you do a roll call vote?
Russ,
Yes.
Deb, yes. Jamie,
Yes.
Soren,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
All right, board recommendation for baseball co-op. Mr. Harris, if you want to talk through that one, you totally can. We kind of heard about it in your athletic report.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, no, just real quick. On the first sentence there, we do have student interest, and I shouldn't have said we don't have student interest. We do have student interest, and the four deserve to play. So but obviously we don't have the playing surface for them. So I reached out to both the principal and superintendent. They were in agreement. So we're just needing a motion. So I move that that LC School Board approve the high school baseball co-op with Monroe for the 2024-25 school year.
Thank you
Thank
so much for that. Is there a motion to consider?
I will make a motion that we approve the high school baseball co-op with Monroe High School for the 24-25 school year.
Wonderful. Second.
I'll second.
All right, 10 seconds. Any discussion from the group? All right, Laura, can you do a roll call vote?
For Jamie,
Yes.
Soren,
Yes.
Russ,
Yes.
Deb, Christine,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
Next up is our 25-26 academic calendar. Miss New York, you want to go over?
Yes, so we created 3 different calendars, version A, B, and C. The major issue, sorry. The major difference between A and B is that A has the whole week of Thanksgiving off. B, we go to school for 2 days and then we have Wednesday, Thursday off. The difference between B and C is they have the same Thanksgiving, but on version B, that Monday when we get back from winter break, it's a teacher work day, so teachers have time to come in and work. Whereas in version C, they do not have that day. So I put on the front page, I put this out to staff. I let the staff know as well that last year, when 8 of them voted and it was a split, they did not give the board very good preference opinions. And if they wanted to have a preference and they wanted to tell the board what they prefer, they should probably do it. We had 39 staff members do it this time.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
And so, as you can see, version A was 44%, version B was 35%, and version 3 was 20.6%. So that's the preference. My action is just that you guys decide based on whatever, and I did tell the staff, I said last year, the board was very clear that if the staff had given them a strong preference, they would have went with it. You can't promise.
What
that's-
matches Corvallis? Because we did that last year. We tried to match Corvallis.
I have no idea.
I think we looked at spring break was the big one on if it
Mhm.
matched the districts around us.
Yeah.
Well, I
think
thought we
this
were
one
trying to
does.
match days off for the teachers that lived and had kids and
Oh.
Corvallis went to school. No.
Because I have people who live in
Okay.
Philomath.
All right,
Yeah.
well,
So I
I
told them-
will say that I think ending school on June 16th is a little late on version A.
Well, let's start
17.
with the motion and then let's carry into a discussion.
What are we supposed to make a motion on? We don't have a version.
Well, you can make a motion with a version. And then let's carry into the discussion and we can always. go from
Okay,
there.
how about you make a motion then? On which version you want?
I would motion to accept calendar version A for 25-26 the school year would be my motion.
I'll second the motion.
All right. My reasoning behind that is because the staff have made the determination that that's what they want, and I do want to respect their voice in that, as they're the ones.
Well,
sending it and
45%
giving
of the
it.
staff, which isn't half, 35% want to be. So I think it's open for discussion.
That's what I'm.
Yeah,
that's
I will
what this
just
is.
say, I spoke to a couple staff members who sought me out to like tell me all about what they thought about it. And the two who came to speak to me, both were heavily invested in A. But then, of course, then looking back when I finally got the thing and looked at it, one of them was confused a little bit because they had said that they wanted the A version because they didn't want to go until the middle of June.
What?
Yeah.
Then I got to look at
So-
it. Yeah, so
I
hopefully
think
that
what
confusion is
I
not
would
so
say
widespread.
as a board member who's a parent of kids in school, we're adding a week to the school year, taking the A version. We start at the same time. Yeah, but 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which is a week because we only go a 4-day school week. And I think that's a week that you lose out of summer. So personally, I don't know why we're losing a whole 3 days there. I guess it's because we have the week of Thanksgiving off.
I look at it a slightly different. I also like version B better for the effect on families. With a whole week at Thanksgiving, it could
Yeah,
do a
that for
financial
sure.
hardship for, in the holidays, you already have Christmas break you have to plan for, and then there's Thanksgiving break is a whole nother additional time you have to try to find. It's not a problem for me anymore, but would have been a struggle.
One other
in the
difference
past.
that I noticed that I want to point out is there are extra Fridays in January. Like A has 2 Fridays in January, B has 3 Fridays in January, whereas C does not have any Fridays in January. Is that another difference that may or may not be significant? They're moving some days to.
Well, A has 3, you're right.
Yeah.
B has none in January.
He
Or
has
C
3.
has none, sorry. I was
Yeah,
looking
C has
at
none,
B has 3 and A
has
has
2.
2. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that affects anything other than people who are used to not having to work on Fridays.
Well, I mean, to think about it, if you look at B, what we're giving them is instead of working on Fridays, you're working on a Monday. So like, for example, if you look at grade prep, it's on a Monday instead of a Friday.
Mhm.
And it's mostly so we can get
That extra day after
the days
holiday.
in that we need to get in. Otherwise, we are going further in January
In June.
and June, sorry.
What is the unpaid holiday? Is that
That's just a negotiated in the contract and they say we get that holiday, but it's unpaid.
wow? Crazy. Well, yeah, I don't think either one is ideal. This year's calendar seemed ideal, but I guess it's not up there, so.
I think B is the closest to this year
Yeah, I think
as
so.
possible.
I'm telling you, I don't like shortening summer by an extra week of school, but that's me personally. I couldn't account for all the people, but I feel like you're right about Thanksgiving week too. I think having that whole week off is difficult, because everyone else is working. And it's a busy week for me up until Wednesday, so I mean it's not a vacation week for sure. But
I'm with the teachers personally.
Yeah,
I
I
think
do
the
also want to
teachers, it's their
support them.
schedule. They say they prefer that one than.
well, Soren said 2 of them, one came to him and wanted that one, but didn't want to go the middle of June,
I think-
so.
I think we have to go off the voting.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
I
Actually,
don't
I'm
have
gonna
enough
speak for
data
me.
to-
I'll speak for me, and when I look at this, the majority is 44%. And I'm really proud of the staff for
Yes.
voting this year and putting their say in there, because I think that that's huge. I think last year we talked back and forth about honoring their wishes.
Yeah.
That is why I made the motion I made, and
Yeah.
that is my discussion in that space. That's
Yeah,
where,
we
that's
asked
what
them
it
to,
kind of
and now
slowly
they've
comes
told
off of.
us be appropriate to.
That's my
Okay,
belief,
okay.
it's their schedule. That's what they.
Well,
so that's what I.
But we're also elected to represent the community, not the staff. So,
Well,
I mean, I'm gonna draw a card here and say
We're not
that,
elected to represent the community. We're elected to represent the students. in
Each
the s-
student.
in the
yeah, well, the
school.
students in the school, yes, I understand. There you go. But I don't think 50% or more of the staff chose A either. So I think 35% chose B. So it's pretty evenly split, actually. I mean, but obviously I'm one voice, so I'm a parent of 3 students in the school though, and I will tell you, I know a lot of people that would rather have be as parents than teachers. They were happy with this year's calendar, way happier than the year before. And the year before we had the whole week of Thanksgiving off.
I can't see that. I can see it.
That's my,
When is
so
it?
I'll vote no on your
Let's get
motion.
to, hold on,
Not
let's wait.
voting yet.
No, I know,
we
I
get
was gonna
there.
say, I will vote no on that motion for A. That's where I stand on that.
So in
I
looking,
was just
just,
looking at the conference days.
well, and just looking, just so you know, I've been kind of looking, Corvallis does not take the entire week, for next year. They would only take. I'm just throwing that out. They're only taking, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off. I just saw their calendar.
I just know last year the
Wilmette, I
discussion was
don't
not
see
about
it.
teachers. The discussion was trying to match with Corvallis School District more because we were so off.
You don't see Philomath
Um,
yet?
Wilmette, I do not see on their website. I do not see Monroe. What I will tell you is for spring break, that is the normal spring break. We all try to actually go off the OUS
Yeah.
calendar. So everybody has the same spring break. It's Thanksgiving that goes differently. I will let you know, I did tell the staff that you guys want to hear their voice. I can't promise that you're gonna get what, but they want you guys really value their opinions. That was in the email that I sent 5 times.
Well, it is important to hear your voice, but
Mhm.
I agree. Most of the staff here don't have, well, maybe they have kids in different schools, not many here. I'm just saying that it's the parents that care more about the schedule a lot of times than the staff when it comes to holiday breaks. When our holiday break was really off last year with the other towns, it was difficult for a lot of people. I think a week off at Thanksgiving is a lot. I think it's a lot to ask parents who have to get daycare or childcare for 3 days. I mean, or take that week off vacation that they may not want to. So, I mean, that's just my point. I'm not right or wrong. I look at it from a different perspective.
I'm torn with that perspective as well, because I want to honor both sides.
So my question would be is, would you guys like to table this and then we can put it for next one? What do you guys kind of think a little bit more? Or maybe I'll have more data to bring to you about schools from around our area, so you could see like Philomath is doing this. Lincoln County is doing this. I mean, what you guys, you could table this till March. It's not that big. We just-
Well,
we
I
could do
would,
that and I could bring more data.
I would make sure the teachers are very clear with what they want, but I'm fine with tabling it. But if you want to have a vote, have a vote.
I'm okay with tabling it actually, and it gives people an opportunity, if you really want to know what the community thinks, talk to them, but go out and talk to people. What do you guys actually think? Those are you, because I tried to talk to some parents and they were like, I'm fine with it. Then I was like, wait, these were all parents that worked at the school or stayed at home. So I guess that didn't, never mind.
No, it's all different. Listen, my wife stays at home and she still doesn't want to have that long of a break when I'm working. Or Christmas was the big one because we had that weird Christmas
That was
break.
not-
No, that was a really bad break. So I just thought trying to keep it in line with the other districts is important because these kids have friends in other districts and they do activities in other districts, and camps line up with the big town breaks, like spring break and stuff like that. Getting out of school, I think June 18th is late. I think that's really late, and we're starting the same day, August 25th. So
What I will tell you, just to be on, I've had some teachers say they would prefer to go longer to have all of November off. Just thought I would. throw
yeah,
that
but
out
that's
there.
teachers. Like Corvallis last day of school is June 13th, and that's the Friday before, right? Like
I'm just telling you.
I'm just saying that's,
Yeah.
but they get paid the longer they work too. Like, I mean, don't they?
We can
No,
put
they
in a
get paid,
contract.
they get paid. So if you
Okay,
look,
well-
all of the days are
Anyway.
170.
I've never seen school get out June 18th in this, like, in my childhood's like life.
Well, I know, but
Children's
the
life.
problem is we're a 4-day school week.
Yeah.
If we weren't a 4-day school week, we could get in, we would get out when we
Yeah,
would do all the
but
Fridays.
like, so Corvallis starts September 4th and gets out June 13th.
They're a 5-day
They're a
week.
5-day, I know, but I'm saying like, we're starting August 25th and getting out
Which is
June
only a week.
12th or 13th, or we're starting August 25th and getting out June 18th. The difference is just those 3 days at Thanksgiving. I just think adding those to the end of the year and adding another school week in the summer is more, detrimental to families than having a week off at Thanksgiving where most people aren't going to take advantage of that week anyway. I mean, that's just my,
Well, there's also.
plus
the
it's crappy
proven fact
weather.
that kids, the longer they're out in summertime, they regress backwards in their learning. And so,
well, I don't know if 3 days will make them regress that much, but
Well, I mean, like 3 days
Yeah.
in November that you have to take off for childcare is the same 3 days you have to take off in June for childcare. Or you have to arrange childcare too. I mean, just to wash them where you put it. I mean,
well,
I can bring it back in March if you guys wanna do some more research. I can bring back some other data. You can look at, it's really important to see what the other districts are looking like. I can bring that back as well. Truthfully, I don't care what the other districts are looking like, if we're else. They
It's
can,
hard
they can
to-
follow us.
it's hard to go
Well-
with what the other districts are doing when we're fundamentally different. So you're apples
Yeah.
and oranges. in that
I-
space.
well, I'm an A person.
but they are the same though with
The
their
more-
Christmas break, Thanksgiving.
They
break,
are, that was
summer.
important, and I will tell you, I'm not sure why the Christmas break was off, I think that was a choice made by the prior administration without lots of thought. I do agree that at least Christmas break needs to be the same time. And it actually helps
And
better
spring
with, and spring break, and really, when I first started doing these in Port Orford with my boss, he always said, go to the OUS calendar, make sure you're on the same calendar as, because that's what a majority of the schools do. So they are the same breaks.
We already go back a lot earlier than the other school districts.
Again, because we're a 4-day school week.
August 25th is a lot earlier than September 3rd in the summertime when it's nice weather. It is, yes. That's the worst time to lose, but
But
they're
you
also
have
getting
kids in
out
school
June
already.
11th, not June 13th. They're getting out June 11th next year. So if we get out June 18th, that's a full week later than what Corvallis is letting out. So be it.
And
That's
along
my-
the discussion
that-
where you guys have said that we're Elsie, we don't care what they do. Elsie's different. You know, part of one of the discussions I had with an employee about why they wanted that whole week off was elk hunting. Which is an LC thing. Like, they're not gonna worry about that in Corvallis, but in
Right.
A
LC.
lot of people in Corvallis hunt, but
Season right there too.
a lot of people everywhere hunt. I don't know.
Like LC.
Okay, whatever the case is,
Okay. So we have a motion, right?
There's a
And we have
motion and there's a
second.
second. I would prefer not to pull it, but if it fails,
Me
we can
either.
discuss it at that point.
Well, I guess we could take our roll,
So
take
Laura
our,
can do the roll call vote.
Jamie,
Yes.
Soren,
Yes.
Deb,
yes,
Ross,
no.
Christie.
yes.
Beautiful.
Carries 4-1.
Okay. Old business.
Okay, so I.
No, I lied. No, you don't get to go yet. Sorry. Take it back.
Oh, we're
I
at
added
5D.
I added another one. Okay, so in discussion with Chris's contract, March 17th, we added an executive session, but I'm bringing it here to have the discussion around that date in case we need to move it around. So March 17th would be, so let me backtrack. Sorry, there's changes this year in how the evaluation are done. So where we sat in the roundtable last year and discussed, the evaluation will be done differently this year, where we put our self-evaluations in and then we do everything online after that. So the discussion's a little bit different in that space. So we will, the goal was to have a date, March 17th, to do an executive session to do the rating for the superintendent evaluation. Excuse me, allow Krista to come in and see those, and then she would have the response to us in April at the regular board meeting. We wanted to make sure that March 17th works for everybody.
So my understanding that they're going to send us the email where we do our ratings
Yep.
before the 17th. We
Yes.
review the results of those ratings and have our discussion on the 17th.
Yes.
And then
Regular meeting.
and then Krista's response in
Yes.
April. I
So,
just
like,
want to
we-
make sure I'm
Yep.
closing that loop.
All of it. And then like we'd have a pre-summary, but if we disagreed when we got to the summary space in the executive session of reviewing, then we would scratch that summary and then move that to like a different moment, but we would still be able to complete her evaluation in that space.
Okay.
Not
Thank you for that
So,
clarification.
Yeah, I just want to make sure March, and we don't have to vote on a date, but I definitely wanted to discuss it as a whole that March.
is March
17th.
17th a board meeting?
No.
No, it's not because
It's just an
it's
executive session. Why then separate?
because it took quite some time to do the evaluation. We all had thoughts and discussion. If we add that to a board meeting, it's gonna be a really, really long night. That
Well-
was the thought.
So be it. I'm not inclined to do March 17th personally, because I have 3 birthdays that week of children, the 15th. I mean, that week is horrible for us, but we already have a school board meeting on what day? The 11th?
The 11th would be the.
Yeah, which is, well, it's also my daughter's birthday.
I guess I can't win for losing tonight, honestly, so I don't know what else to say.
I think the 17th is
Fine.
fine.
It's Mia's birthday, you know that.
Yeah, me and I. have the same birthday.
Tonight's my mom's birthday and I'm missing it.
They said, I was right in the middle.
I'm confused. I'm sorry. So is March 17th working or not working?
Works for me.
So that's gonna be what time?
Whatever time you guys want. It's
No, we have to start at 7. I'm like barely making it home in here, unless you want me to be late. I just can't keep getting here at 6. I mean, it's almost impossible for me. So if it's an executive session, I think we can start at 7, but
I don't have a problem with
that's right.
7.
I
Seven,
mean, they
fine.
used to start at 7, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because 6
We
is
voted
just
as a
like-
group that six worked better. But
Yeah, well, I mean, for certain things, but I got home at 5:10 from Vancouver today. Like I literally you know, I'm getting later and later. So it's a Monday. Mondays are bad for me, because I'm in Vancouver. So
That works for me.
Set
Seven.
Monday, March 17th at 7 p.m.
Or will you let them know? See if that will work right too.
He told us or that he doesn't actually need to be there.
No,
But this one?
it's not self-guided. Sorry, there's parameters around all of it and things like that.
you guys are gonna get me to like resign from the school board because this is like the worst week of my life. The 11th's a birthday, the 18th, the 15th,
Mine too.
and no, 3 in that week, and you're gonna have 2 school board meetings. So that's
That's your choice. Christine.
no, it's not.
Did you want
I
to
said I
let
don't want to do the
us
17th.
See if you want. to-
I'm
What
not-
date would work better than then propose?
Well,
date?
anything but that week. That week, we already have a school board meeting
We have a
like
school board
6
meeting.
days before that.
Yes.
I mean, so it's really hard to
Like a
cram
week
in.
before.
Yeah, 6 days. It's really hard to cram in 2 long meetings in a
Six.
week.
do you want to give up your spring break?
On the 15th, that's that week.
'Cause we're asking more work.
I'm gonna be gone spring break.
I'd rather just do it in one meeting and have it be long personally.
Can I be honest though, Russ? It's really hard for me to do a long meeting and then come around the next morning and do an all day for school.
Well, and I was gonna say, I think what I hear a lot is complaints around long meetings and getting out of here and rushing things so we can get out of here on nights. So I don't think that the long meetings are working.
They're not.
Okay.
And it takes Jamie and I a half hour to get home after this.
And Krista, an hour. Laura, I'm not familiar with where you're at,
Well,
but
just have it the 17th. It's fine. That's whatever you want. Go for it.
Okay, 17th at 7.
If I don't make it, I won't make it.
Old business. I believe this was a bring back on the
Yes.
artificial intelligence policy to kind of discuss as with the board, what other districts have for their AI policy, and then I'm gonna
So,
let you take it from there.
Okay, so what we did is we actually pulled Tiger Tualatin. We sent it to OSBA. They said, that's not one we wrote. So
okay.
Tigard and Tualatin, Tiger Tualatin, my guess, has their own in-house counsel. So we are sending it off to Spencer at OSBA, and I'm actually gonna bring this subject to my next superintendent meeting to see what people in the region are doing as well. So I just wanted to throw it, those are sorry, that's tired. Those are the next steps for us to do. But yeah, we sent it to OSBA and they're like, we didn't write this. And so, like I said, I believe Tiger Tualatin has their own counsel. So if you guys like something like this, we would have to send it to OSBA to ensure that it does fit. I mean, I'm assuming it would, but to make sure it fits.
I thought the policies were well written. If our council would agree with what's in them, I think it's very well outlined and would put some concern maybe at rest, having some of these things clearly stated and defined.
And I want to run this past Nathan. Him and I have not had a chance
I mean,
to.
I think definitely, especially the AR is very designed towards a larger district, so we would really need to trim that down a bit to fit Alcy. But
Yeah.
I think it's really well done.
So yeah, he and I just have not had a chance to get together, but I wanted to bring it back to you and say, these are gonna be our next steps. At our next, like I said, super meeting, I asked for that to be spoken to about whatever. So then I can see where other districts are, cause maybe they're like, yeah, we are gonna use Tiger Tualatin, but here's where we're gonna cut it down or whatnot.
Okay.
I also, when I brought this to Nathan, he said that the ESD is also working very heavily to ensure that we are able to know what different types of AR, so he's gonna take this, or he's gonna talk with his group through the ESD as well.
So one thing I remember is that Tiger Tualatin said that they specifically wrote theirs to not single out AI in case something else came along that was not
Yes.
called AI.
Yeah, I think
And
that's
if we're
why it
talking
says
about
that
it-
responsible use.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, we're talking about an AI policy, or we want to go to something else more vague.
I mean, we could bring down, if you guys really like this, we could put it
Electronic
back,
use.
Nathan and I can work on it. And then we could send it to OSBA, and if they're like, yeah, it's okay, and you guys like it, we can bring it then to first.
Right, as far as I'm concerned, I don't really have a position on whether it's AI or
Yeah, I think.
technology, as long as it
I like
talks about what are the appropriate tools and then what are the appropriate uses.
And responsibilities and accountability.
Yeah,
I personally like the removal of the AI and into a technology policy.
absolutely.
I just think the world's changing too fast and too quick, and which is great in my opinion in some spaces because I think. Oh, it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful.
Mine is about it.
But I also think the student responsibility component is
Way to go.
Huge.
because I think
Yeah.
that often our students are getting a little confused on what they can use and what they can't use. And I loved that example of like, if you have an English teacher at home, what's the difference between using an AI and your English teacher resource to correct your paper or look at that?
Mhm.
So I think the technology piece of it, is really the big piece.
Well, and we're also responsible to set them up for success in the real world. And all of my stuff is very heavy in computers. So I think if we can teach them how to responsibly and respectfully utilize their resources, we're setting them up for success in the job world.
So like I said, I'll sit with Nathan when him and I have some time too, and then I'll work with my superintendent group and see where the other districts are at in our region. And I'm
Awesome.
actually going to a conference tomorrow, so, and I think there might be something on AI, so I'll kind of ask her on there as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so next is our second reading of policies. There's two ways we can do this. Let me go through it really quick. So we can actually motion to approve things in the entire batch, like 8A, we approved 8A through 8 whatever. We can pull out certain ones for voting and discussion, or we can go one by one.
I have a question before we get started
Yeah.
on that. In my comparison to last month and this month, there are, I think, 8
We had to take those out.
missing.
We took out the AI one, the other 7 we were told to take out because there was I don't know. The Title IX, those ones that were taken out,
But
there was
there's
an actual federal court judgment
okay,
for civil rights, and those ones that were taken
okay,
out.
the sexual harassment.
Yes,
federal
that
law.
actually
Okay.
changed some of the wording. So
Okay.
OSBA emailed us literally the day after and said, take those out.
Okay, so then my question is though, we still have a JFE AR, but JFE is not listed.
Hold on, where's it at?
Which number?
It's not in 8.
Oh,
Where is
The AR is in 8, but the JFE is not listed in our reading.
what number 8? JFAR. Okay. they
JFAR,
said to-
80.
They said not to do the parenting plan, but this one is more of the AR. We already have the JF policy. This one just says, how are you gonna implement the
But
policy?
JFE was in our first reading.
They told us to take it out. Because there was.
So
some-
our current JFE is acceptable?
Right now it is, yes. When they figure out how the ruling fixes all that, then they
Okay.
will send it back.
So we needed to add an AR
Mhm.
to our current
Yeah.
JFE?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So these are all required, right?
The majority of them are, yes. There's a few that were highly recommended, and I don't remember which ones, but if they're
And-
highly recommended,
And some of these are still approving deletion.
yes, some of them
Okay.
are deletion, there's to take
Yeah.
them out.
I saw that.
Yep.
How does the board want to do this? Do they want to go one by one? Do they want to take certain ones out, or do they want to do a bulk motion?
I think we should do a bulk motion.
I agree. I don't,
Okay, I
after looking through these, I only had a couple minor questions. I don't think there's anything worthy of pulling out if we could.
Yeah, and there's one that it looks like when the strike throughs were deleted, an extra word was
Okay,
deleted.
let's look. Well,
It,
I
it,
know which one you're talking about because Soren brought that up and let's remind me which one it
it's,
was.
it
Well, then we have to
literally,
do a motion.
Yeah, so we can do a motion and we can motion to
Yeah.
approve them and we can put
Okay.
amendments
I
in
need
it
to
and then.
batch approve all of these.
Okay.
yes.
I second.
Hold on a second. Soren motions to approve second reading of
Back
policies
approve.
All of them.
8A
Through 8S,
through 8S. Correct?
yes.
Deb seconds
Discussion.
amendments to the motion.
Okay,
8J.
which one? Okay, does that have to do with,
It's literally missing the word community.
Where?
That's it. In
Where?
section 2D3. It's just missing the word
oh my God, I
community.
can't get there. 2D.
And when I looked at the other one with the recommendations, the strike through, it was literally just an extra word was
Okay.
deleted on accident.
So Laura, do you have that? You can approve that one let's pull that one out and approve as amended.
Okay.
So.
I
let's go
can
back and
email that to
re-
you if you'd like.
Yes. Let's go back and can you amend your motion?
Yes, we'll,
Yes. Can we discuss one more?
yes.
And so.
Nope, my computer died. We can't discuss. it all about it.
The only other
More,
one,
it quit.
so,
That's a
8G,
sign.
paid family and medical leave. I had a question about that weird sentence. They had a couple words crushed together. And now I can't find that because it's now 4 pages instead of 5, and I can't find any sentence that even resembles the one that I.
Because remember, some of it was crossed out, so I pulled it.
Okay.
Because crossed out means that they didn't.
You know, I read through it and it's totally fine now, as far as I'm concerned.
Which one the one we're pulling out?
The one that you amended.
It's 8J,
Thank you.
section 2D3.
So that way then we have the motion that it's pulled out to amend it.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve 8A through 8S with an amendment to approve 8J section 2D3 as modified.
I'll
Is that
second.
Yes.
correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
I second.
was there, sorry, we already have a second.
You had the
Oh.
motion, I
We
was
just-
second.
We're just
It's amended.
amending this motion.
Okay.
But was there a second one?
Mm-mm.
Did I miss that? Okay. Any further discussion? All right, Laura?
Russ,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Soren,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
All right, board comments, any?
Hold on. Can I ask you a question before? Did you pull that one out and you're gonna do the one to pull out as amended?
No one made it, there was an amendment in the motion to
Okay,
pull that
okay.
with that section and approve as amended.
Okay, perfect. And then Laura, let's just make sure you know where we're at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Board comments,
Well, yes, kinda.
go for
Just
it.
going back to what we were discussing earlier, and I just appreciate the fact that the board will be a part of the bills and the deposits and the checks going out, because I think our role is to make sure that Krista's doing her job and staying in her lane, just as she's watching us and keeping us in our lane and doing our job. Yes, she's doing a great job taking care of the school and running it and the day-to-day operations, but it's our job and the buck stops at us if there's a mistake. And so I'm really glad that that change is being made now. Thank you.
So can I ask a question on that?
Yes.
Are you asking for that to be a future agenda item, that the discussion and questions for deposits and expenditures are on the agenda?
Yes. Because I.
But
think
not
it's
the
important.
checks, because the checks are sent to us individually, and so if there was a question or a discussion, you like to either pre-ask them to Dawn and have them shared in the meeting?
Well, because it says in the audit that it should be discussed in meetings also.
That's what I'm saying, like, It can be a line item on the agenda, but the checks would still go to our emails.
You could do
And then you could ask Don before, and then you
Yes.
could ask him then to even just share during the discussion and questions. and
That way we
answer.
get in the minutes.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a simple verbiage change with his financial reports that we have all reviewed and had appropriate time to answer and address any questions with the checks and deposits.
he
and
made
financial
comment-
reports.
he made comment That he will, if there's a question,
Uh-huh.
he will read the
Yes.
question and he will read the answer.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I think that should be a future agenda item. I think everybody should know that, yes, we're looking at the bills, yes, we're looking at the deposits, and we're paying attention.
So I moved your board comment to future agenda items, if that's
Okay.
okay. Other board comments? All right, other future agenda items? Key dates, I don't have anything.
I'd like to note one.
Go for it.
This Tuesday and Thursday, the sophomore class is doing a bake sale for before the or during the basketball games.
Thursday is.
It's Thursday is senior
Thursday
night
is senior
for the
night.
boys, Friday is for the girls.
Thursday in LC, Friday in Monroe. Yep.
Hmm.
All right. With that, we will move into executive session under ORS 192.6602I to review and evaluate the employment related performance of the chief executive office of any public body, employee, or staff member who does not request an open hearing at 8:01 p.m.
I'm gonna end it for all and restart. That's what we've done before.
Okay.
Hold on. You're gonna have to turn on our camera, Laura.
Oh.
Currently this is Elsie's.
All right, we're back in regular session at 8:31 and we are adjourning this meeting at 8:31. Thank you.